Hello and welcome to Paxton Road TV. I am Sam Spurs for Life and this is Talking Points episode number 71. This week's Talking Points, I've got to find it for you guys. It is Conte playing mind games with his own players, maybe even the team and the club itself? In the house, I am joined by, as always, Paxton regulars, Sid Spurs, Sean Hurl, both of whom were at the game on Saturday and enjoyed it immensely, as I did from my nice posh seat. Anyway, before we get into the show, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and we'll get this show on the road. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing? Smiles on our faces?
Of course, always smiles when you thump somebody on the opening day of the season at home. You know, when we went 1-0 down, I was getting text messages from them lot down the road saying, look at the score. And I'm like, hey, calm down. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean? So,
I can't believe what them lot down the road. I had that. As soon as they went one, it was like 12 minutes on the clock. You see, it's the same old Spurs. Oh, bloody hell. Let's at least get to halftime. Anyway, getting to halftime 2-1. I didn't get any more text messages after that, which was no surprise. So them lot down the road, don't do that anymore. Just make sure you just wait. Anyway, right, let's get into the show. Conte. I had a bit of a think about it. I think we was all kind of, maybe not all of us. I was a little bit surprised, although I put it in the group saying I think he's going to play the same team that the majority of the team that played last season, and none of the new starters would start. I know that we've got a slight concern about possibly injuries to a couple of these players in terms of Perisic just coming back from one, Bissouma coming back from injury, and also COVID. Longley, new player, just come into the squad, obviously. But I then started to think, is this a bit of mind games from Conte? Is he actually saying to these players, right, you've got an opportunity here. If you go out and show me that you can do it, you'll stay in the team. And I think he's fair in that sense. And if you don't, you'll be coming off. You won't start the next game. So be it, or so said, should I say. I think the majority of the players performed really well. Even though I didn't think Emerson played that fantastically well, he really got a high score in terms of what he was given. So I'll start with you, Sid. Do you think this is a real high degree of psychological warfare that Conte's now imparting on these players to ensure that they keep these standards up? Because it's going to be an acid test next week when we play Chelsea. What's your thoughts?
You know what? At the end of the game, his interview as well. When he got interviewed, I was listening to it, and he actually said last season the squad was poor, and he's actually said that on radio, right? So for him to say the squad was poor last season, that's a statement on its own, right? Now, whether that was mind games as well, I don't know, or whether that's a message to the team that played last season, towards the end of last season, and started the game. Whether that was just a message to say, guys, I thought you were pants last season. Now, up your game. Or whether he just knew. Because some of them new players, okay, Bissouma done well at Brighton. Perisic done well at Milan. Langley, we don't know much whether how much game time he got there. Spence done really well for Forest. He wasn't going to put them all straight into that firing line on the opening day of the season. Because for me, Conte wanted to win that game. So I think he's gone with trusted players that he trusted towards the end of last season that got him to fourth position and got us the Champions League spot. So I think it was just a matter of get these players in, get their confidence going back up, and then they can look on the bench and say, you know what, I've got Perisic there, I've got Spence's there, Bissouma's there, Richarlison's not there, but he's there. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's mind games towards his own players. It's mind games within himself. And it's also mind games to all them out there listening and watching. Because, boy, some of them are getting scared already, aren't they?
Yeah. Sean, I'll come to you. What do you think in terms of the psychological aspect that Conte's imparting? Because, again, I think a lot of people, as I mentioned before, were slightly surprised that none of the new players started, i.e. Perisic. I thought he had a good chance to start. I also thought Basuma might have had a really good chance to start, but I wasn't quite sure whether he'd take someone like Bentancur out, who I think, is really, really the type of player that we want in there alongside Basuma, or Højbjerg. But he's another player that I think needs to be in the team because of his leadership qualities. But if you look at Højbjerg as well, he looks like a racehorse. He looks like an action man. He's lost weight. His face is like, not gaunt, but I'd say he's definitely trimmed up. And he's keeping up to pace. So I don't know. What's your thoughts in terms of that starting 11? And is this a kind of giving these players the fillip to go ahead and do what they need to do? Because next week is a big game.
I was really surprised to hear Sid say that he'd used the word poor. Certainly, I've only seen that he said that we only had 13 players by come the end of the season. So it was clear that that we needed improvement and we needed recruitment, and I think by and large we've done that. But yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show that Conte is a master at getting 1% and 2% out of players. I mean, the only surprise to me was to see Emerson at right wing back, rather than Doherty. That was the only surprise to me. I thought the other players, Lenglet had turned up late, hadn't gone to Korea. Basuma had got injured. Perisic, as we know, is coming back from an Achilles. And Richarlison was banned. So, the likelihood of seeing new faces was limited by circumstances beyond our control or beyond Conte's control. But, it's all about putting, heat under their feet, isn't it? It's all about putting their feet to the fire and saying, I have got people on the bench now that can come in and take your place, and I think it's, we can expect more of it as the season goes on. I've just been reading back Alistair Gold's transcript of his pre-season press conference, and he said, at one point he's saying, "Why not the Champions League? Why not the league?" But at the same time, he's also said the difference is that it's not just one or two teams ahead of us. Like when he was at Inter and he had to chase down Juventus. He's got 3, maybe 4 teams to chase down in England. So he's also, he balances the books to me in that conference and says, the gap. The plan is not to close the gap in one season. Again, is that mind games? Is that mind games for us? He's going to play us as well as he's going to play the players. I can't fault him on Saturday. I come out of that stadium, I felt 10 foot tall. I wasn't like an Arsenal fan on Friday night claiming that the title was already theirs. My God, the delusion. If Crystal Palace had a striker on Friday night, they would have come back with their tails between their legs. Listen.
We could do a whole show on Arsenal and their delusions, but we're not going to do that because I don't really care. I really don't care about them anymore because, as I said, what I got in the first 10 minutes of that game on Saturday, after the first 10 minutes, should I say, it shows me that everybody's looking for Spurs to fall over. They're waiting for us to have a poor start or a bad game or somebody Son gets injured or Kane, it's clear. And even from Sky Sports, I saw, you might have seen that little bit of a not interview, but it was like a panel where they had Roy Keane, Micah Richards, Gary Neville and Jamie Redknapp. And basically Roy Keane alludes to the fact who's the closest to being challengers. And he said Spurs. And Roy Keane doesn't mince his words. Roy Keane never really minces words. He's always said Spurs are this, and it's Spurs lads. And when he used to play for Man United, this is what they used to do. It's only Spurs. So if he's got a mentality shift in terms of how he now sees the club, that's because of the manager. And I think the manager is going to use the media in a lot of ways to do these mind games. You remember after the Burnley game, Sid, how he had that mini meltdown, and then a couple of days later he said, "Well, I meant that." It's kind of not in so many words, but it wasn't a meltdown. I'm going to leave. It was a a challenge to the board. It was a challenge to the players. It was a challenge to himself. So psychology plays a massive part. Do you think that this is going to be the way it's going to be for the season in terms of all the aspects he's going to be doing this to the players, the board, and obviously us as fans?
I think so, because you know what? He came in when we were struggling. He's managed to turn it around with a poor squad, right? And he said it time and time again that the squad needs adjusting. The squad needs tinkering. There's players in there that I don't want at the club, and I don't see at the club in my team. So I want players. And like you said, he's having meltdowns here and there. Not directly, but indirectly, but trying to get a point across to Levy to say, listen, you want me at this club, you're going to have to dig deep, and you're going to have to give me players that I want. And not only that, you're going to have to get rid of these players that are dead wood, right? I don't care if you paid 60 million or not for them, but it's my way or I'm gone. And if I go, Kane's going to go. So, and he kept saying all that stuff. And then at the same time, he's egging the players on. He's got, like what Sean was saying, he's getting that extra 1-2% from the players, which worked. And they're believing in what he's saying. So I think Conte is going to continue with that all season now, because he's sort of got 6 players in. He's sort of got rid of players like Dele Alli. Rodon's now gone on loan. Galini's gone. And then some of the other youngsters have gone. He's got potentially today, they reckon Giovanni's almost done and dusted. They reckon it's going to be announced at some point today. And now once that's done, they're looking at Ndombele as well. So that could be gone as well. That only leaves Sean's favourite player, number 8, Mr. Winks. Winks Naissance. So you never know, he might be coming back in September.
He might come back.
But the players are now leaving the club as well. So he's still got 23 odd days left to get extra players. So these mind games are going to continue, because if I'm Conte, I'm sat there thinking, do you know what? I've got everyone at Sky Sports and all them pundits rattled. Ian Wright's rattled, being a gooner. Everybody else is now getting rattled by us on what I'm doing. So you know what? I'm going to continue playing these mind games, because the more mind games I play, people are going to start getting worried, And in the background, I just carry on doing what I'm doing. My players carry on doing what they're doing. They're looking fitter. They're looking sharper, Like I think what you both said, that team on Saturday, I didn't expect that team to start, to be fair. I expected, like Sean and yourself, Perisic to start, Doherty to start right back, and Bissouma. But circumstances, like Sean said, stopped them certain players. So now the biggest question and the biggest mind games is going to be what happens on Sunday.
Sunday is going to be very interesting, because I truly believe that every individual footballer has a ceiling of potential and a ceiling of talent and a ceiling of ability. So some players' ceilings higher than others. We know that from our world-class players that we have in our squad and team, Harry Kane, Son, if you're going to name the two. But other players, Ben Davies, Matt Doherty, you can look at someone like even Sanchez, Eric Dyer, who else? Ryan Sessegnon. They've all kind of improved up to their... Have they improved to their limits? I would say someone like Ben Davies maybe has. Is there more room for improvement for someone like Ryan Sessegnon? I think there is, because of his age. Eric Dyer, I think, is a real leader and a real quality, but I don't think he's going to get better, maybe more smart in terms of how he plays. So Conte's really got a job now to kind of balance up the ability within the team, but also, to manage, I guess, that mental side. That who does he trust? Because we've brought in talent. Ndombele. I'm going to go back to Ndombele, the Celsos of this world, the Dele Allis of this world. If they're not mentally prepared to do what Conte wants, they ain't playing. I'm just hoping that all these players now realise that. And from the starting 11, it looks and appears that all these players do realise that. What do you think it did for Kulusevski when, the way he played on Saturday was like, Richarlison? Who's Richarlison? Sean, the performance from Kulusevski at the ground was mind-blowing, in my opinion. What was your thoughts?
He's just carried on where he left off. Against Norwich, it's almost as like we played Norwich last week, and I'm back doing my stuff this week. Incredible performance. And when the shooting boots on the two world-class players, it's good to have him. We pose threats from all parts of the park nowadays. I can't believe You know, we've won a game with 4 goals, and neither Son or Kane have scored.
Should have been 10. Should have been 10 goals.
It should have been. And, you know, I can see where, I mean, Kane was absolutely livid with Son for not scoring the ball in that first half. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, Son was desperate to score. And I think, you know, I think a little word in their ears is going to be happy at this week, you know, say, look, you know, it's not all about the golden boot on week 1. You know what I mean?
That's what it did feel like that a little bit. You almost had a bit of the Ronaldos about him, you know what I mean? He was like not throwing his arms up in the air, but you could see that he was desperate to score on that opening day. I think with a lot of players, when you like Mitrovic, I'll take the example from Fulham, he's kind of hit the ground running, 2 goals on the first day. Kulishevsky the same. I expect them now to have the confidence to take that into the next game, obviously depending on who they play. If you then go ahead and play Manchester City, it's going to be tough on you. We've got
you know
Chelsea.
what? I would rather they scored next Sunday than Saturday. On you?
Yeah,
Very,
100%.
very true. Very true.
And who's going to be easier to beat than, you know, old man
Silver.
Tuchel.
Silva in the middle of there, you know.
Oh, Thiago.
As no voice, has no legs left, you know. I mean, we'll
Do you see their midfielders? They had a back three. And let's just touch on Chelsea quickly. I don't want to take too long on it, but they had a back three starting of Koulibaly, Thiago, and Azpilicueta, combined age of about 100 and something. Now, I'm not saying that combined age means that they can't play football. Obviously not, because they can. But surely that means they're not at the top of their game in terms of physicality. I don't think Azpilicueta was that quick, and he's very, very good in terms of his positional sense. But if we can, I don't know, if we could just get over that and this is what I'm saying about, this is why I did this show, because I think next week is more about mentality than anything else. It's not about the physical side of things, because we know the players are physically ready. It's not even so much about the tactical side of things, because if they play through at the back and we play through at the back, in terms of the personnel, I think we're better equipped. It is going to be down to mentality. So, Sid, how are they going to approach this from a mental perspective? How do you think Conte is going to approach this with the players? Is he going to say, listen, use the same players again? Or do you think now he's going to say, horses for courses, as Sean was saying, we might have to tweak this, bring this player out? Has he looked at this really tactically and said, right, I've seen how Chelsea played in this first game? Because I think Tuchel might play mind games himself and maybe, you know, try and upset that by playing something slightly different. But I don't know. What's your thoughts?
They weren't impressive at all against Everton. And this is an Everton side that almost went down last season. And to play them on opening day of the season, Everton had Tarkowski making his debut, and they still didn't have Calvert-Lewin, and they just about scraped a 1-0 win, right? Cucurella came on second half, and he just looked like a headless chicken to me, man. I just, you know one of them, like, you know, when you give a kid fizzy drink, right? Like, he's not supposed to have, yeah, and he's got full of ease, and he's just running around the pitch. That's what I thought, because I even said to my boy, I went, what is Cucurella doing? He's just running around in any position, anywhere. He was just running. Maybe because obviously he's making his debut for Chelsea and he was hyped up and whatever. But if I was Conte, all I'd be saying to them is, I know your ability. I know how good you guys are. You did it all half of last season for me. You've done it in the first game of the season. You've had a grueling, intense summer in terms of fitness in Korea. You've come up trumps on that one. Look at what happened on Saturday at Southampton. Yes, we went 1 down. You come back. Now, how often have Spurs gone one down under previous managers, and we've struggled until the last 5-10 minutes to get an equaliser, right? On Saturday, it didn't seem like that. We went 1-0 down. It was like, yeah, problem. Carry on. Let's go. We're only 1 down. Let's play. And then, boom, there we go. All he's got to say to them is, you in your heads have to get it right, because every one of them in their heads has already got that losing mentality going to Stamford Bridge. And if there's one manager that can take that out of their heads, it's Conte. So all he's got to say is, it's there, you're capable, you know your own abilities. I'm going to pick the team. I'm going to pick the players that I know is going to win that game. It's down to you to go out there, right, and take that game by the scruff of the neck and get the 3 points, because everyone's probably already written us off because they think it's Chelsea. We've not won in how many years? Once in 20 odd years. You know what I mean? So it's all going to be down in their heads. Seriously, that's all it's going to be on Sunday.
It has to be. It's got to be a mental game. Usually in sport, particularly individual sport, it is mostly the mental side of things. If you're a boxer, if you're a tennis player, it's the top level players. The difference is the mental side of things, not because and I've looked at a couple of books in terms of tennis particularly. There isn't a lot of difference between the men 1 to 100 in terms of just normal playing. It's the big points, and that comes down to mentality. So I'm hoping the same thing with the big points in the big moments, that we make sure, as we've done last season against the big teams in terms of Man City and Liverpool's, not so much against Manchester United, but they're not a big team, so I can understand why we lost to them. But I'm looking at Chelsea now and thinking to myself, right, go into this with the right mentality. They're not that good. They're not better than they were last season. We are. I look at it as simple as that. They're not better than they might be equivocal, but they're not better. We can certainly bring more off the bench. Sid, you was going to say something. So
I was going to say one thing, right, that I won't point out, and Ian Wright said it as well on Saturday Match of the Day. Which team, or have they got 3 world-class forwards going into that game on Sunday? No, we've got the 3 world-class in Kulu, Son, and Kane. Yeah. They haven't got 1 world-class up top or in their middle that I would class as a world-class player. We've got 3. Yeah. Okay, Sterling, but is he world-class? I don't know, but we've got 3. We can take care of Sterling, right? Because it just takes Romero to deal with him. Can they take care of our 3? No.
Not if all 3 of them turn up. And they don't all have to turn up. They can, we could have a slightly below, as Saturday proved, there's slightly below average Kane, slightly below average Son, way above average Kulusevski. But yeah, it was the whole togetherness that the pieces that did fit together that made the performance, in my opinion, a really good one for an opening day. Do you think, and I'm touching it as well now, do you think that Conte's piling the pressure on? I think it's probably an obvious question, an obvious answer. Do you think he's really piling the pressure on Daniel Levy now as well? Because there's been talk about, and I've seen some of the comments, is Daniel Levy going to really go and splash out this money in the future? Is this it? Or are we going to have this? This is the only transfer window where we're going to be spending big. I'm going to say Conte made it quite clear in his press conference. He doesn't like liars. That's the reason why he's left all the teams previously, from what I understand, is that he was made promises and promises weren't kept, effectively being told one story and being given another one. That, again, is putting pressure on Daniel Levy. So if he does decide to walk, he's basically put it out there to say, I'm not walking because I just want to get off. I'm walking because I haven't been made or haven't been given the assurances and promises that I was told. Sean, how do you think this is going to work out long-term if Conte does sign a long-term deal with Spurs?
I think Conte is on... No, sorry. Rewind that. I think Levy is under an enormous amount of pressure. In many ways, the PRTv Conte cards are the last he's got in his deck. And he knows if it doesn't work out with them, the blame's going to go to Lily Whitehouse. It's not going to go to Conte or to PRTv, because I think they know football. They know football, as we, as I was alluding to earlier in the WhatsApp chat. Conte knows more in the fingernail of his pinky than I do in the whole of my big blubber of a body. You know what I mean? So let's get it right. I keep saying Saturday because we actually played on the Saturday for a change. Sunday, let it be clear, Conte wants nothing less than points out of the game. Mm-hmm. Those defeats in January killed him.
Hurt him.
Oh, he was hurt. Probably more so than the Burnley games. Yeah, he's got animus with Chelsea, the way he was treated. He had to go to court to get money out of them and everything. So let it be straight. He wants to take something away from Stamford Bridge on Sunday. He will pick the team. Whatever team he picks to kick off at 4:30, I'm with it. I don't care. He's the man. He knows what he needs to do to win that game. Like Sid has said, can their defence cope with our front 3? I don't think so. So we've got goals. It's, you know, can our defence be solid as it was on Sunday against a much inferior team? That's the question that's going to be asked on Sunday. I hope we come up with a result.
We will come up. As I said, I don't expect us not to come up with a way of playing. So tactically, I think Conte will have a way of playing. I thought what we lacked last time was the ability to change the game. And then we had the games pretty much back to back when we played Chelsea. And I think after the first couple of defeats, mentally the players were never going to win the other games. It just seemed to me that way because it's not Chelsea again. We can't. And if you look at our record against Chelsea in the league, it's shocking. It's terrible. I think we've won once at Stamford Bridge once, and I remember that game. That was the Dele Alli winner, was it? Was it Dele Alli who scored the winner in that game? I'm pretty sure Dele Alli scored in that game. But 33 times that they've beaten us, we've only won 17 times against Chelsea in, I think, 60 games. When we do the preview show, you'll get to see some of them stats. But again, it didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. Somebody's just on my screen and trying to get rid of it. Hold on a minute. Oh, it's gone. So yeah, that can only be down to mentality. So Conte's going to have to get into these players. But I think as well as that, he's got players in and around the squad now. Perisic, if you've seen what Perisic or what Ryan Sessegnon put, what Perisic told him about getting to the back post and then he got the goal from it, that's the sort of experience and know-how that we need. Players wanting to help other players when they're not in the squad or not in the team. That can only be a good thing for us, right?
Mentality, that was what the buzzword after Saturday, where we went 1-0 down. We did not panic. We did not concede again. We did not allow them to drop back and crush us. We just outpassed them and outcompeted with them. And in the end, it was like a mercy killing because the superior fitness of our squad told in the end. And we're going to be, we're going to leave everything on the field week in, week out. Conte secretly thinks he can win things. I think he can win things. Let's shoot for the sky, as Bill Nicholson would say. Even if we fail, there'll be an echo of glory. Come on, you Spurs.
And Sid, I don't even think it's going to be I don't think Conte's really even keeping it secret. I think he's just using his words or choosing his words quite carefully. He seemed to get a little bit brisk when Ian Abrahams mentioned the fact about the top four run, and he said, well, what about the league and the Champions League, which is where I'm at as well. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that. And there's no reason to not think that way. Again, you look at the history of Conte, you look at the history of what he does with teams, and he's even said it himself, to have 7 months behind him with the players that he's already had, hence the reason why they started on Saturday, shows you that there's been an improvement. So
like a 7-month pre-season.
Oh, 100%.
That's what he's had. And all 100%. These people in the comments here being negative about the transfer window, please, come on. Have a back your team, for God's sake. Back your manager.
Everybody's got their opinions, Sean. And like I said, we have to allow that because, like I said, I think if the window was poor or if the window wasn't to what Conte had wanted, we wouldn't be hearing these noises now.
Back to Milan, yeah.
He'd be spouting his mouth off saying, nope, blah, 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 blah. This is the club's decision. And all that rhetoric would be coming out. So I think he's happy. Could he be happier? 100%. Sid, what do you think as the resident expert of transfers? What pressure do you think he's going to apply to the board to get any more players in before the window ends? Do you think that's going to happen?
Yes. I mean, that Udoji is already... 99% signed, sealed, and delivered, but he's going back on loan.
Is his name Dodgy? Don't say his name's Dodgy.
It's not Deji, no, it's you. I think it's Udoji, Udodige. Udoji. I might have pronounced it wrong.
Again, it's succession planning. That's brilliant. That's football.
And what I've heard about him is they reckon he's supposed to be that good that he's on the brink of the Italy squad as well. So that's for next season, and Conte's looking forward to that already, to bring more competition to Perisic and Sessegnon. Not that he's going to get rid of him, but there's still that attacking midfielder situation, and Zaniolo and Maddison. I'm hearing rumours that he doesn't want Maddison. I don't know how true that is, but now I've heard that Conte doesn't want him. He wants Zaniolo more than anything. But there's a lot of people saying Zaniolo's not the person because his assist and goals is not as good. But he's been playing well, so I don't know. And for me, how does he get into this team as well?
I was on mute then. Sorry, Sid. I was going to say, look at Kulusevski and Bentancur in terms of 2 examples of players that were on the fringes.
Oh yeah, those
people
those
think
Juventus-
we're not sure
those
about them.
Juventus rejects. Oh,
Exactly.
God, yeah.
And the most important thing, which I was going to mention, what you guys were talking about a couple of minutes ago about the games, we now can 80 minutes, 75 minutes make. I mean, this 5 substitution thing is fantastic because 80 odd minutes and you're taking off Son, Kane, Kulusevski, and you're bringing on Perisic, Bissouma, Lucas Moura, right? With then you still had Spence on the bench. That we didn't have last season. Them players would not have gone off this last season. If you know what I mean, they would have played till the 90th minute because Conte had no one on the bench. Now with confidence, with his chest out, he can say, do you know what? Kane, Kulu, Son, off you go. We've won this game. I need to rest you now. I can bring on Perisic. I've got Bissouma. I'll have Langley. I've got Spence. You know what I mean?
Some ways, Sid, in some ways, we could even strengthen from the subs bench depending on how you look at it. Now, some people look at it and saying the players that started on Saturday are not better than some of the players that we brought in. Some would say Ryan Sessegnon is not better than Perisic. I would agree. But what that does allow us to do is if Ryan Sessegnon has a good game and we do well, to bring on Perisic is it's a luxury, isn't it? Champagne.
Yeah.
Champagne toast afterwards. And the same can be said of someone like Richarlison because we know he's going to give that work ethic. Some people saying he's not going to get the goals as Kane. He's not going to get the assists of Son. And he's not got what Kulusevski has got. I don't think that matters because we would not, and Conte would not have spent £60 million on a player that he thinks is, he knows what he's going to bring.
I totally agree with you because they're all comparing Jesus to Richarlison and they're saying we've got a deader deal. Also, I've got a better player, right? But they've got a better player. If that's the case, then who starts for Brazil? Richarlison starts for Brazil, not Jesus. Conte is not going to sit down and just waste £60 million because, he's not paying me any money to go and get players. I know what, I'll go and buy a player for 60 million and piss Daniel Levy off. No, he's not going to do that. He's looked at that player. He's assessed
100%.
that player, right? And he, in his mind, with his team and Paratici, have said, this guy can do me a job. Yeah? He can play all 3 positions and he can do me a job. So I will pay that 60 million because I've got the faith. And if he's got faith and belief to pay 60 million, then I trust my manager. Simple as.
Yep. 100%. I couldn't agree more. Go on, Sean.
I was going to say, let's not get caught up in this red herring of a cam as well. In all the teams that Conte's won with, we didn't have a cam. Ericsson played, if he played at all for Inter, he played in a pivot or he played off the left. So don't start wishing Maddison or these players on us because he ain't gonna get in a Conte team. There's not a place for him.
What I would say to that is, I think if he gets somebody that's a bit versatile, this Zaniolo can play on the wing, but it looks like he could probably play just behind as well. So I think if you get a player that's slightly, like Richarlison can play across the front 3. I look at Bissouma and I don't just see him as a defensive midfielder. I see him as a player that can play in midfield. This defensive attacking midfielder, that's come recently. If you think back to when 4-4-2 was going on, it was no such thing. It was just 2 midfielders and they had to do the job of both, attack and defense. Mm-hmm. You look at Patrick Vieira and what's his name? I forgot his name. Petit. Probably in around about that sort of time, the best 2 midfielders you could argue with what Man United were doing with what's his name? Roy Keane. And who else was in the midfield with Roy Keane? I think Paul Scholes.
Scholes, yeah.
But if you look at those 2 teams, you wouldn't say Roy. What would you say Roy Keane was? Defensive midfielder? No. Yeah. Box to box. He did everything. He crushed people. He could play a pass. He could score a goal. He could get back. Paul Scholes again did everything. Well, I know we've touched on Man United and we should be on the Spurs thing, but I'm just giving the examples of why I think we're more reliant on now getting versatile players as opposed to just a specific. I don't want to just get a number 10. That's not what I want personally.
the one thing I think we are missing is a midfielder who can bang it at the end on the edge of the box.
Hello.
And it took Basuma to come on to actually have a pop. That's the one thing missing from Bentancur's game and Højbjerg's game.
Yeah,
they're not hitting the ball on the 18-yard line and putting in top bins. That's the only thing we're lacking, I would say, in midfield. Hopefully Basuma can do that. We've seen him score against us, and he scored a few goals last season for Brian. So yeah, let's be positive for a change. Come on.
Do you know, Sean? Do you know what the other thing, right?
Hold on, who's sitting top of the table after game week 1? Is it Arsenal? No, it's not. In spite of their protestations on Friday and all their we've won the league by beating Crystal Palace with no striker.
The other thing as well.
Come on, let's give the flowers to Conte. He's going to play us. He's going to play the players, and he's going to play against Levy, and he's going to extract gold this season.
Sid,
I was going to say the other thing as well is this: what you're saying about the CAM and the attacking midfield or whatever. If we get Zaniolo right, he can play across all three. Right, we've got Richarlison that can play across the three. Yeah, if you've got Richarlison, Kulu, Son, and Zaniolo, then Kane can drop and do the KDB role where he can feed the balls to them, right? You don't need a playmaker because he could do it. You know what I mean? And then 4 or 3, whichever how you play them, they can interchange, and all 3 of them are capable of playing as a striker. And if there's anyone that you want them to be fed by, Kane is the ideal person to do it because he will find them like KDB does. So for me, I think as much as Maddison gets a lot of assists and scores goals, I think Zaniolo could be a better fit for us and for Conte. And I think that's what Conte is looking at.
Yeah.
I can get more out of Zaniolo than I can out of Maddison. I think that is the key.
And we also have to, and I know some fans don't want to hear it, we do have to look at it as a business as well. We have made some big outlays. Now, if you compare, and we did this in the show, Sid, when we looked at the stats for Zaniolo, Paqueta, and obviously Zaniolo. Maddison. Sorry, I'm getting confused with all the names. We looked at them and we saw, Maddison was clearly ahead in terms of stats and blah, blah, blah. Obviously, Premiership proven all the rest of it. But Conte, if reports are to be believed, doesn't fancy him as much as Zaniolo. So there must be something in it. And we have to trust the manager who's won the leagues everywhere he's been. I'm not going to say, hold on a minute, what are you talking about? He's a much better. No, he must be reasons. There's obviously reasons. And when you get into football management at that sort of level, there's little things that can make big differences. So again, we might be looking at the history of Maddison. Has they looked into his off the field stuff? Have they looked into all of that side of stuff? There must be a lot that's gone into that because again, Maddison's not touted the likes of Man United buying him. You ain't got other teams coming in for him at this moment in time, unless there's a waiting game. If he was that good, surely, I'm just saying that. But I'm not saying he's a bad player. Don't get me wrong. I'd love Maddison at our club, but I'm not overly fussed if we don't get him. But I would say that I do think we need maybe that one more player just to kind of fill that position for us, possibly. Yeah, agree? Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see Sunday. We'll see before the end of the window. Anyway,
time will tell.
100%.
Getting back to what it is Conte going to play mind games? Yeah, and we as the fans will be as much played as Levy will.
Yeah, I totally
and
agree.
The players, he'll say, I mean, like he said to Harry Winks last season, he said, I can trust him. But he soon dropped him, and fair enough. And he was right to do so. I'm still hoping that my boy gets his move away to Spain, and goes and has a really good career. But let's give the manager the credit for changing the mentality. We went 1-0 down after 12 minutes against a team that we lost to last season. We're already 3 points up on last season now. Because we've got the 3 points we didn't get last season. Come on, look at the positive here.
I like how you look at this. I like it. Sid, was you going to say anything to add on to that?
No, I agree with him.
I do. I agree too.
That game, I was at that game when they beat us, and we did not play at all. We was pants. right?
It was rubbish.
Sam Mewes there as well. We was pants,
Yeah,
you know.
rubbish.
And this time round, and everyone's saying, "Oh, everyone's going to whip Southampton at home 4-5-6-1." Let's see if everyone does that. Not everyone is going to do that. Unfortunately, it was just not unfortunate. They just come up against the Spurs in second gear, third gear that stepped it up, and they couldn't cope with us, you know.
No.
And not. I don't think City, Liverpool, and them lot will beat them 4-5-1 at home. Not the way we did.
No, I agree, and I think what you tend to find that the teams that are hitting the ground running in the first game usually have a bit of a run. Let's say the first couple of games. The teams that don't usually have a bit of a bad. It's not always the case, but if you look at Arsenal last year, they had a bad start. It was compounded by the first 3 games, and then it was like panic stations. Oh, we're never going to get top 4. Blah blah blah. If you do the opposite, you win your first 3 games. It really sets you in good stead because people are saying, "Well, you're already ready." And I think, barring any injuries, barring any real mishaps, we're not going to see that same drop off in terms of performance levels when we make substitutions that we've seen previously. And I don't think that's going to happen. Champions League draw, everybody, 25th of August. Woo! It's going to be interesting. Right, I'm going to shout out to those watching. Kevin Murray, Stuart Such in the house, Team Football, Bangkok 69. I'm going to be careful with some of these names here. Definitely. Mark P in the house, Mojo, Eddie Ryan. Thank you for watching. Craig Bowler, as always, in the house. Daniel Tyler's there as well. Colonel Conte, thank you for watching us. Not seen you before, but make sure you subscribe if you are new, Colonel. Craig Bowler, I said that already. Dino Dinosaur, as always, is in the house with us. Yeah, Sid, just tell us about the shows coming up. Have you got anything coming up on Friday that you need to tell the viewers about? Oh, Spursy 141. Our Judge Jodi's there. Sorry, Judge.
Forget the judge.
Can't forget the judge. Be in jail otherwise.
Judge. Yes. Friday 6 days. Hopefully a new signing. Hopefully, but we'll find something to talk about. We always do. The dynamic duo always find something to talk about. So Friday at 7:30, yes, we'll be on there.
That's excellent. And Sean, would you like to say anything further about your show coming up? I know I'm just throwing it out there. I like to build the anticipation for the viewers. That's all I'm doing.
Discussions are ongoing. Don't worry. Discussions are ongoing.
Discussions. Oh no, you're not doing Daniel Levy, are you? How much are you?
Daniel Levy us. He's gonna Daniel Levy us. Punchbag Workouts is also in the house. Big up all from Punchbag Workouts. We like to see you in the house as well. That will do it, lads. That will do it, gentlemen. I think we're all keen to see how this season progresses. I am very keen, as we all know, as you two are aware. 503 is where you can find me. You know what I mean? Row 25. I'll even tell you my seat if you want. 131. I'm there. That's my seat. I mean, there. Couple of weeks' time. As always, we're going to be supporting the channel. We're going to make sure that we've got everything for you guys in terms of preview shows, reaction shows, talking points, obviously every Monday. Sid says on a Friday, Judge Jodi after the game on a Sunday, if we're playing on a Saturday, or 24 hours after. And don't forget, we have a new person in terms of a host. He's already causing controversy. She Spurs, the Arsenal slayer, and he wasn't playing about on Saturday. It was supposed to be a game against Southampton, and when I caught the review, all I heard was Arsenal's going to get this, and this is going to... Oh, my God. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Deji
please
was
watch out.
on fire.
He was on fire. I know. But, apparently... there's a certain American pop group that's going to be making a lot of money, in the next couple of weeks, because every stadium and every manager's playing a certain song by the Backstreet Boys. Quit playing games with my heart to Conte, because that's all they're going to be playing, because Conte is going to be playing games, mate. Proper games.
Like I said, Sunday is an early acid test for the Spurs team, for the manager. He'll know where his players are at. But what I do believe, even if he starts that same 11, which I don't think is going to be too far off that starting 11, I'll be honest with you. And I think somebody made a point. Why would you change a winning 11? You probably wouldn't, depending on what happens, depending on... Right, if you went from playing, I don't know, Cambridge United to playing Barcelona, you might think about changing your 11. But the winning team, in terms of the Premier League, should be given that opportunity, because we've got better players to bring on the bench in some areas. So I think that's a win-win for us. Yes, it's a win-win. Last comment then. I think we've got a couple more comments coming in here. Thanks, boys, from Mark P. Mark, you noticed there's no more Love Island, so you must be sad.
Don't worry, Big Brother's coming, for God's sake.
Big Brother's coming.
Oh. I despair of the British public. I really do.
We've got people, not leaving now. Well, about this time, people are like, oh, we need to make a cup of tea. We need to get off soon. They're all staying. Anyway, we're done now. So thank you very much for watching. Again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have not done so already, hit that like button. Massively helps out the channel. We want to get over 50 likes at least on this show. And also put in the comment section below, do you think Conte's playing mind games with the starting 11, with the squad, with the Daniel Levy, with PRTv? We haven't touched on all those things, but it's only a 50-minute show. Gentlemen, Sid Spurs, Sean Hurl, Sam Spurs for life, season ticket holders galore in the house. I keep doing that. I keep adding myself into.
Sorry, just before we go, guys. I know I've got a few people signed up to the Paxton Road Fantasy Football League. So if you haven't signed up, now you've assessed the first weekend and who's going to score goals and who's not conceding and blah, blah, blah. Bang your teams in. We put the code on the last Sid Says episode, so we'll put it back up again. Join. I don't think, have you two joined yet?
Sorry, the only fantasies I want to see are the team that plays in white on a Saturday and Sunday,
and
a Wednesday and a Tuesday, but not on a Thursday.
Jeez, I was thinking, where's this gonna go? But he saved it. He saved it. Well done, Sean. Because we could have got cancelled easily. Then no, I haven't done it yet, Sid. But I've got quite an amount of fantasy football leagues that I'm in, so I'll see. I might join this one later and just show you how good I am by winning it if I start late.
Absolutely.
That's how good I possibly could be at fantasy. Well, I'm not really that good. Great show again. Sean, I'm 53. Can't stand that rubbish. Love Island. People, it's a long running joke. We had this over the last few weeks, and there's quite a few people that were in on this. Mark P being one of them. Is a great sport.
We
anyway,
have to finish the show by 9 p.m. Otherwise, our audience disappeared on us. Yeah,
and even our host disappeared. We had some guests disappear. Remember Darius 3K? He was off, gone.
Mind you, given the number of people who leave earlier from the game on us, that rips my knitting, as they say up here.
No, but Sean,
you're paying top dollar for your season ticket, and I've got to get away.
Yeah, but Sean, you ask anyone, including pundits and everyone, they say Tottenham Hotspur is one of the worst grounds in the country to get out of.
Oh, to get out of is
if you're stuck, horrendous. You're gone. You're dead. Yeah. That's why I think of people. And leaving 1 or 2 minutes early, it makes a massive difference.
Listen, I stayed to the end on that game, and I was going to go White Hart Lane Station, and I was milling around a bit because I was trying to see if I could get to contact you lot to see you, and then it got a bit late, and I thought, I'm get off. Went to White Hart Lane Station, probably about 20 minutes afterwards. Mayhem. I was like, no. I had to walk to bloody Seven Sisters. Half an hour trek. I'm like, I don't want to do this every week. Not doing this again. That trek's too much. That's why I don't do Seven Sisters. Anyway, we're cutting off topic here. Let's get off because we've really gone.
See, Conte has played mind games with us.
Again, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sid. We'll catch up in the week. No doubt we'll see you on another show. Thank you all for watching as well. It's been magnificent. A pleasure as always to bring you all this content from Paxton Road TV, and we'll continue to do so. So again, put your comments in, like, and subscribe. See you guys very soon.
Ciao, ciao.
It's just different.